Hi, I'm going to do a little intro video. We've got an assignment set up for Tuesday this week, which I'm going to make sure I show you as well. And we're going to model some buildings. It's going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past. All right, quarter two, week 8, day 2. We're going to model these buildings, and we're going to be adding your name and rendering it. Some finished versions down here from the past. Let's take a look at one here. So this was a custom one. There's actually 3 different buildings that I've asked students to build in the past. First one is a standard. Actually, 2 of them are modeling buildings using modifiers. The third one is of your own design. So there's Boolean operations as well. And here's another example where there were 3 buildings. The one in the middle is the first one I'm going to start to demo just to kind of get the ball rolling. And then once you get your other buildings set up, you can use merge to bring them in. These are not buildings that we're going to necessarily live in, but they're ones that are going to teach you some examples of modeling as well as materials. So these little renders here do have students' names, and they do show a variety of buildings. This one's got a monolith through the side of it. All right, have fun with this. As you can see, it's about application of your processes. If you click on this link, and this is what it's going to describe for you to do, it tells you this is going to take about an hour to build this building, and that's for a beginner. So this might be all you get done with your lab time. Whatever we get done today, you'll be turning in. So it says here in preparation for the tutorial to download some files. I already have those downloaded for you, so I'm going to save you a bunch of time on that. And if you were to go ahead and start down this process, creating the tower, etc., you're just going to follow along, and as far as you get within the time that you have for class, you're going to turn in a render of it along with a comment if it's appropriate to explain why there might be a shortcoming or an incompleteness in your work. But put in a reasonable amount of work and you'll earn the points for the day. So getting back into here, what I wanted to show you is I've got this on a network drive for you. Google Classroom will tell you where to look. So it's a really long path. It's under Art, 3D. This one's called Tutorial Files, 3ds Max 2016, Tutorials, Scene Files. If you can copy that from Google Classroom and paste it into your File Explorer, you'll end up right here. And now to get into scenes, and briefly, I want to mention that 3ds Max organizes things so that you have a scene and then you have scene assets. It's going to be very important when we get into applying materials in the Army compound on Thursday. Just going to mention that as kind of a preview of what's going to come to light on Thursday. If I open the scenes folder, you should see something that's called modeling, and then from within there, high rise. There we go. Now, if you look on date modified, you're going to see building 1 start has got a pretty current time. I just updated this, and I'll do the starting points for you. The intermediary ones are for people that get stuck. That's how these tutorials are. If you get stuck and the instructions say continue where you left off or open up the version 01 or 02 or 03, this is where you'll find your fallback position. Don't want you to spin your wheels. If you have a question, send me an email. If I'm not online with you, give me a phone call. But mostly, if you're interacting with me in the session, just open up the chat window and use a private or a public chat. Really looking to position you so that you get the answers by using help, by using each other, and I'm in the background as a fallback position as well. So we're equipping you with all these safety nets. This is a fail-safe environment, and as long as you're putting in the effort and letting me know what's going on, you're not really going to fail. You're just going to earn points and learn, and that's what it's about, is your learning. All right, so I've opened this up, and I just want to show you comparing what the tutorial looks like and what it looks like in lab, because I don't want you to get hung up on the fact that what they're having you do here is go to the Create panel and activate geometry. Now, these 2 icons look a little different in our current version. I'm going to come up here and just point above my head. So what looks like a starburst, I'm not sure my fingers, we'll use the X here. This starburst and this circle are actually referring to, in 3ds Max, the plus button now, and let's go to the plus button first, and then that circle right there. That's to create geometry. I've used those words, but the icons look different in the old version. So I'm going to create a box, and I'm just going to use the mouse to create it. Just going to click, drag, raise up, Now, I happen to already have the segment set to 7, 7, and 50 because I pre-did this. But if these values were all at 1 by default, which they could be, and you'll notice that I've got, if I've created the box, now I can modify the parameters, which is what the tutorial is going to have you do. Just click on it. There we go. So now I've got it there. It's going to tell you to make sure that you use the modify panel and set them to 70, 70, 300. Incidentally, these are meters, not centimeters like we've used in the past. And again, these values are all accurate. There's slight differences in the video, I should say the tutorial, and I'm showing you the more current version. So what we're going to do is end up with something that looks like this. Do this on your own, and if I'm just going to do it from memory, 70, 70, and boy, I don't even remember, 350? Sorry. They say the memory is the second thing to go. I wish I could remember what the first one was. 70, 70, 300, 7, 750. 70, 70, 300. Just going to highlight and type in 300. And then we've got 7, 7, and 50. Now, 50, I believe, is the number of floors. So that's where they're coming from. Again, it's not going to be entirely accurate, but we've got it set. Another thing, quick review. Let's put this in the middle of our world. So if I'm in the move and select option, I'm in move mode. The X, Y, and Z at the bottom, if I right click on each of these, I can automatically go to 0, 0, 0 and make sure my building's centered in my scene. That's essential if you're going to take this work and export it somewhere else. It also makes it a lot easier to figure out where your objects are if they're centered on that grid that we work from, although this is something called ground. Now, they're going to have you name this glazing, and they're going to have you work with the color as well if you want to. So I'm going to jump back to the Modify panel, which is the bent line here. And change the name from box 001 to glazing, I think they have me call it. And since I'm in here, I want something that contrasts a little bit better with this color. I'm just going to switch over. This is personal choice to blue. Blue and white to me has got more contrast. So that's the starting point, and then they're going to have you modify it. So again, I'm on the Modify panel. I'm going to add a modifier called Taper. When I click on Taper, whatever values I've had in the past are going to show up. It happens to be 0 and 0. They're going to have me taper this by a negative value. I can click and drag down, and you'll notice the effect of this. We're going to want to follow the tutorial, whatever that value is. I think it's negative 0.45. So let's take a look in there and see what we got going on with that modifier. This might to start look a little bit like the taffy arch we did. There's a reason I started with that, but now we're doing a standard tutorial, which is going to walk us through this process. Toggle back over to the instructions. Really, the reason I'm going through this is to, demystify. What do you mean use the standard tutorial? So the standard tutorials are provided by Autodesk, and they walk you through a series of steps on purpose to make sure that you're going to learn what they want you to learn. Oh, I needed to change my curve to negative 0.9. I missed that step. Not a big deal. I don't need this window open here. Negative 0.45, taper, negative 0.9. So moving that down. I think that's what we wanted, negative 0.09. I think that's the only thing I need to do on those settings. By the way, before you proceed too far, start to do a save. We started out with something on the I drive, which is the game programming drive. Make sure you save a version on your H drive. So I'm going to save this on the H drive by typing the letter H, and then a colon, and then a backslash. That's the same as the one with your drive letter. We call it building start, and then put your initials in there if you want to. That's SD for student. So now I've got my own version, and I can save other versions if I want to. It's my starting point. I'm just going to follow along the tutorial, and by the end, I will have a building that's got a material on it that I'm going to add my name to, because that's something I like to see. And you can build the other buildings or put a couple of your own in there and make a nice scene with a background so that you can do a render for your portfolio. That would be a success completion for the day. If you get less than that, give me what you got and give me a comment. All right, that's Tuesday's activity. I'm going to wrap up this demo and turn you loose. Let me know through chat how it's going. Be resourceful. If you have a question, type it in chat. We're getting to a point now where sometimes students might even be able to figure this stuff out and answer each other's questions, which is fine by me. But I'm here if you need me. All right, have fun.